Most of the time, as you're growing in volume, the easiest solution is we'll just hire more people. What Alvys and Foundry have done is allowed us to grow in volume, but I don't have to hire more people. I dump my SOP, I dump my processes in there. I tell it what I want. I prompt it the correct way. And now all of a sudden I scale my operational bandwidth without actually hiring more people. Those people are just extremely more efficient.
Hello, Freight People. Welcome to the Freight People podcast, where we talk about strategies for success in trucking and logistics. We sit down and have honest conversations. Today, I'm very lucky to get to talk with Kendrick Dawson, who is the VP of Operations at Spartan Carrier Group. Before Spartan, he was leading operations at Ryder. He's got almost a decade in freight, and he understands how AI is shaping and changing carrier operations. So excited to get to talk with you, Kendrick. You guys were one of the very first users to adopt Foundry, our agentic platform.
Absolutely.
So super excited to talk to you about how that's going. And I'd like to start, if you could give us some information that might be helpful to other trucking companies when they're considering using an agentic platform. What was the onboarding process like?
So the onboarding process for us was pretty simple. We got to work with the Alvys team and kind of explain what we need and why we need it. Give them examples of, here are some of the outputs that I would expect to see. Here are some of the inputs that we're needing. How can we best utilize the Foundry platform and help scale our operation with minimizing the amount of people or minimizing the work that everybody's having to do? Ultimately, our goal was, how can I increase my top line revenue, but I need to keep my costs the same? By using Foundry, we've been able to establish a few processes early on that have freed up an enormous amount of bandwidth for our team, which allows them to be more flexible and to grow into other roles that we can use to support throughout the organization.
Okay, so you're seeing it is really going to help your bottom line. It's going to help you guys have a lot more output, make the workers, the staff that you have more efficient.
Absolutely.
What would you estimate would be the gains? Like, the dispatcher is going to be 4x more efficient. How would you quantify that?
I would say that off of the first test that we're running with Foundry right now, if this is successful, which it seems like it's going to be, I will be able to provide customer support with just one dispatcher per shift, regardless of what my volume is. So what it's doing for us right now is it turns my dispatchers into a regular dispatcher and just tracking and tracing loads to now they are exception managers. So it's allowing us to quickly identify and point out, here are the issues that we're seeing. All of the noise you can get rid of. I don't need to track and trace every single milestone. We have thousands. So I don't need somebody to spend time doing that. They're just validating the exceptions as those exceptions are coming through and alerting my team. I would say that we could probably grow as far as miles driven in a year. We can go 3x, 4x with the same headcount that I have right now, which is very unusual. Most of the time, as you're growing in volume, the easiest solution is we'll just hire more people. What Alvys and Foundry have done is allowed us to grow in volume, but I don't have to hire more people. I dump my SOP, I dump my processes in there. I tell it what I want. I prompt it the correct way. And now all of a sudden I scale my operational bandwidth without actually hiring more people. Those people are just extremely more efficient.
That's awesome. Okay. So you guys are able to keep the team that you have in place, but make them 3 to 4x more efficient. And with the dispatchers, they're able to handle exceptions. Mm-hmm. And so they're not having to do this like rote work of check-ins and keeping the shipper updated, but they're able to handle any kind of red flags, any issues, any alarm bells that ring. They're able to handle those. And that's where the human's expertise is truly very useful. Do you ever see a future where you wouldn't need humans in the loop?
No, I think that we're always going to need some type of human element, right? At the end of the day, the most important part of Spartan Carrier Group and really the entire trucking industry is what? It's drivers. You got to keep drivers happy. You want to make sure you're taking care of them. It's hard to do that when you've got 100 things coming at you at once that could easily be automated using Foundry or using other agentic opportunities. Our goal is to allow our dispatchers to manage those exceptions while also taking care of the drivers. That human element for us will never go away. We're always going to want to prioritize people. The question that we have to ask and answer is, well, how can I make those people so efficient that my operation can just scale and grow, and I don't have to continue to just pile on band-aid solutions or hiring more people? How can I make everything flow and still keep our drivers happy, but minimize the amount of admin support or back office support that I actually need?
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And something that Spartan Carrier Group does so well is you guys have exceptional driver retention.
Yes.
Your drivers are happy. They like working at Spartan Carrier Group. How do you see using Foundry or even using Alvys TMS more broadly, helping keep your drivers satisfied? And furthermore, what's you guys' strategy? How do you do it?
I think that our network and how we've designed our routes is probably paramount in our driver retention. So our data team has come up with ways to optimize engineering using the agentic platform. Outside of that, it's our culture as a company is to put people first. We're obviously a very Christ-centered organization. So I think that brings a lot of people into our organization and it keeps them there because not very many organizations are as bold in their faith as we are. I think with Alvys, the biggest benefit that our drivers are seeing comes from the use of the custom references that you guys released a few months ago. I will talk about custom references all day long if I could. But what that does, especially paired with Foundry, it allows us a different level of driver communication. Drivers are going to have questions. They have all of these concerns. They need to know where to fuel. They don't always want to just pick up the phone and wait for somebody to answer. Our use of custom references in tandem with the use of Foundry has allowed us to navigate those communication challenges that most people probably see and just put them in the hands of the driver. Hey, here's everything that you need to know. You don't have any questions about your route or your day or your week. I give you all of that on the front end, and every single detail that you would possibly need, I can add those into custom references that is visible on the driver app, which was huge for us.
What are custom references exactly?
So custom references within Alvys, it is a select field that you can customize however you see fit for your operation, whether it be resources or route IDs, anything of that nature. But it allows you to kind of tailor the data how you as an organization or as a company want to see it. I might want to see something in a certain lens that you might not. The data is going to be there. The question though is how do I utilize the system to give me outputs that help me better make decisions moving forward, but also how can I utilize the system to better my communication to others to ensure that everything that is happening, I can speak your language still talking mine. So even if I think that this table is black, it might not be black to you, it might be gray. I can use those custom references to speak my language from what I'm seeing, and I can use it to translate over to make it make sense to you. So our custom references have allowed us to scale our operation from a back office side and cut down the amount of time that it's taking to identify, well, this means that to this person, this means that to this person. Let's just link them together and make it all one language that everybody understands and can speak very easily and very quickly.
So you're making a bridge of communication between the shipper, the driver, the operator?
Correct.
So that everyone is speaking the same language?
And more importantly, internally, I'm able to connect when something happens within any one of our individual routes, right? I can use the custom references that feeds and it speaks to finance. So I might say something like an expedite. They might not understand exactly what that means, but I utilize the custom references to speak a certain language to my finance team so that they understand exactly the situation and exactly what the impact will be. The ability of those custom references is an absolute powerhouse. Not many systems allow you to just tweak whatever you want to tweak and give you all the data and information that you need. A lot of the time it's just out of the box, right? Hey, here's what you're going to be able to use. There's nothing else. If what I need doesn't fit within those parameters, well, then I'm out of luck. Custom references eliminates that entirely. Now I have the out of the box solution, but maybe I want to add on 25 different things. Well, now I can. Super simple.
That's awesome. I'm wondering if you have an example of that working, like, oh, it means this to the shipper, it means this to the driver, it means this to finance.
So I would say that the biggest one for us is if I have to use a lot of external capacity, meaning our network is internal driver driven. I have W-2 employees that are driving for us. If I have to resort to using external capacity, there has to be a reason. Capturing that reason is difficult. My field operators are going to say one thing. My dispatch team is going to say another, but ultimately my finance team and my C-suite, they need to understand why we're using so much external capacity that is not planned for. We use those custom references because I can have Group A say, hey, this is why I'm doing this. Group B, this is why I'm doing this. And now with Foundry, I'll be able to utilize that knowledge and say, okay, well, if A said that, B said that, awesome. That means that the actual answer that finance will understand is going to be C. So I'm leveraging the knowledge of individuals, and I have a database of, I guess, combinations of different issues that I can always silo into one particular issue that speaks to maybe finance, or maybe it needs to speak to HR, or maybe it needs to speak to our engineering group. But utilizing the custom references and utilizing Foundry in tandem, that's where it's important. You got to use them both. But if you use them both, now you have a way to communicate across departments very easily, and everybody has visibility to what's happening every single day.
Wow. So you're feeding in all the context, and then Foundry, being an intelligent agentic platform, is able to translate that into the information that each different department needs to know.
Correct. Yes.
That is very cool. And what other use cases are coming out of Foundry that you're excited about?
I'm going to explain Foundry in this way because I think this is the most simple for me to understand. If you have a house and you live by yourself, you have to clean your house, right? It's very linear. You got to do your laundry, then you got to do the dishes, then you got to mop, and all the different steps that go into it. You're one person. It's going to take you all day to really clean the house from start to finish. What Foundry does is it just elevates that. It multiplies me as an individual. So now I've got 8 me's running around the house. One of us is doing the laundry. One of us is doing the dishes. One of us is mowing the lawn, but it's all happening at the same time. So what would normally take me an entire day takes me 2 hours. That is the power of what Foundry really is. It allows my team to force multiply effortlessly. All they have to do is click a button. All they have to do is prompt what they want to prompt. The best part about it is that it's all within the confines of the TMS system. So the problem with a lot of AI platforms, right? You're going to use Claude, or you're going to use ChatGPT or Perplexity. It's kind of risky to link those directly into your TMS system or your ERP system, whatever you're trying to link it to. With Foundry being embedded in the TMS system, the confines of the TMS system, all of a sudden, I've got an AI agent that has all of my TMS data already there. And it's very easy and effortless to just create processes and create simpler workflows to eliminate the minute tasks of what everybody's doing day to day and allow them an opportunity to be managers of exceptions, right? Our whole idea is people, meaning I want people to grow. I want people to develop. I want people to learn. Well, it's hard to do that if I have to press, hey, this guy arrived at this time. This guy left at this time for 150 different people, 24 hours a day. If I only have one person, that's going to be their entire shift, no matter what. But if Foundry fixes that, which it does, and it sends out my customer communication, and it's prompting me if there's an issue, well, now my dispatchers are sitting and they're waiting, right? They're just waiting for the alerts and the exceptions to come through. Now they have more time to think through the best and most optimal solution to a problem. And now they start learning and they start growing. And now you start to see creative solutions come out of people that normally haven't had the time to do that. That is where Foundry benefits us the most. Like, that is the true power behind what it can do.
It is taking care of the more mundane tasks so that your team members can focus on making better decisions.
Absolutely.
Can take more time with strategizing and with handling exceptions carefully and well. And it probably helps with employee retention because they're less bored. They probably feel more valuable. They're handling harder, more challenging things, and it's less constantly demanding.
100%. I don't think many people go into transportation to say, I cannot wait to go through 100 PDFs today and make sure that the numbers match. I don't think many people want to do that. There might be some, but I feel like the bulk of the population got into transportation or into any field that they're in because they're passionate about it. They want to solve problems. For me, I love solving problems. It's hard to solve problems though when I have to do very mundane tasks consistently. I can't think through a problem and have a creative solution unless you have time. Well, Foundry just gave us time. They gave everybody on my team time. Now I have time to solve, time to talk to drivers, time to strategize with the team, which is something that we haven't had in the past. And that is where Foundry becomes so beautiful for us because it is transforming the way that our people are thinking.
I love that. And I think AI as a whole is helping us do that. Some people would say, well, it replaces intelligence. It's making people stupider. Not necessarily. I think it depends on how you use it. Like if you're a student and you're having it write your papers and you're no longer thinking critically, you're outsourcing your thinking, sure. But in our case, the way Foundry works, it is empowering humans to do the more complex, creative problem solving, double checking tasks. So it's almost like now every person on your team has a team.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like it's promoted everyone to be managers, which is more strategy, more orchestration. So it's a very cool time to see these sort of changes in businesses. And one of the philosophies behind Alvys Foundry is to empower companies like yourself that want to build, that want to scale, and that have creative vision to do those things, to empower you guys to build on top of an infrastructure that's already there. So like you have Alvys TMS, which we have, 50 engineers. We've been building since 2020. And so we have a very secure, solid SOC 2 compliant infrastructure in place. And we have these enterprise agreements with multiple LLMs so that your data is protected, which is of utmost importance to us to make sure that all the data is safe and secure so that you then have a sandbox. You then have the foundation to build on top of that. What's that experience been like for you guys?
No, I think that's a very interesting way to put it. And I love that because I think if I set Spartan Carrier Group aside, we're a little bit different because we do have data architects and we have coders. So we are thankful enough and lucky enough to have a team of engineers that can, even if you do start vibe coding, right? You don't want to just vibe code something without the solid foundation and the blocks in place to really make it successful. We are lucky that we do, but a lot of the companies that would really benefit from Foundry and Alvys as a whole, they probably don't have that level of technology sophistication or understanding, which is understandable. It's very complex. I have a hard time wrapping my mind around all of the different facets that go into AI as I'm using it. Where Foundry is different though, is that it's almost like you can kind of vibe code your solution, but you've got Foundry and Alvys to keep the data privacy and security within the confines of your TMS system. But you just have an entire team of engineers with the Alvys team and then the Foundry platform that it's taking your ideas and it's creating the building blocks to ensure that what you're doing is going to be successful at scale and is secure at the same time. So you think of a lot of smaller trucking companies. Maybe they have 5 trucks, maybe they have 10 trucks. They can't just use ChatGPT to go say, hey, I want to create this process. I want you to automate all of these different things and then just start running different lines of code after code after code. And now this is so convoluted that if they get to 20 trucks, it just falls apart entirely. It doesn't work. Foundry is allowing people to build a solid foundation with the correct building blocks. And it allows people to go out and just, hey, this is what I'm wanting. This is my TMS system. Here's everything that I need to be able to do to maximize the efficiency of my operation. And then Foundry just goes to work. Dump in your SOP. Foundry just goes to work. And now all of a sudden, you can force multiply your team. Even if you have 10 trucks, but you're just one person managing it, now you can get up to 100 trucks. You don't have to hire more people. Foundry is creating that foundation and those building blocks layer after layer after layer. And you just talk to it.
I personally love that too, that for the builders out there, we want you to feel empowered. We want you to feel in control. We want you to feel like you can build and design anything that you can imagine. And we're there to support and help in any way that we can. You mentioned some of the use cases, the ways that you're using Alvys Foundry. And I'm wondering if you can sort of summarize several use cases.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the most impactful use case that we have now is out of all the customers that we have and anybody that's a customer, you know that you want updates on where your freight is at. Is it going to be there on time or is it not? Where is it currently located? So the most impactful one is we have used Foundry to create automatic reports that go out to all of our customers. The benefit, though, is that it doesn't matter what template our customers want to see. Customer A might want to see a different data set than customer B, and they might want to see the same data set that just looks a little bit different. With Foundry, I can customize this customer wants to see this information on this cadence, just like this. This other guy wants to see these data points laid out in a particular way every 30 minutes instead of every hour. So using Foundry, we've been able to automatically update all of our customers with real-time data from our TMS system. So I don't have to have people go look at their EODs and say, okay, well, here's the location that they're at. Here's when they arrived and departed. All of that information is already within Foundry because it's already within the TMS system. I already have all of my ETAs in Alvys. I already have my most recent location in Alvys. The question, though, is that we had to ask is how can I utilize that information and push it out automatically so that nobody has to do that manually? Number one, that was our first project, and it was absolutely successful. It was mind-blowing how much time just that one thing gave back to my team, especially if you have high volume and you have 100 routes. Well, now you're just spending an entire hour getting a report ready for somebody instead of actually making sure everything is accurate and everything is going well. The second piece of it would be, as I mentioned before, when we have most of our stuff is internal driver networks. When a driver calls off, I have to find somebody to cover that route. The coolest, in my personal opinion, the coolest one that we've done so far is I don't have to have a dispatcher or a manager send out a request for coverage on a route that comes up. If there's no driver assigned to the route in Alvys, let's say 2 hours before it's supposed to dispatch, 4 hours before it's supposed to dispatch, Foundry is going to prompt and it's going to send off an email to every carrier within my system that has ran a similar route or from a similar location as the origin of the route that I need covered. No manual manipulation of anything, right? This route's open. It needs to leave in 2 hours. Foundry says, hey, that's not good. Let me go ahead and start trying to find coverage for you. Anybody in the transportation world knows how difficult it is, especially now, to find coverage in a pinch. So we set up Foundry and said, okay, I want a 4-hour buffer. At the 4-hour mark, that's going to get fired off to everybody that we know. Now, all of a sudden, I've got my dispatchers continuing to do their normal processes, but Foundry on the back end is already sending out requests for coverage on routes that we need nonstop. That in itself is a time saver. I don't have to worry about sending out emails. All I got to do is just wait for them to respond. And I have a time frame so that if I'm busy doing something else and I just so happen to overlook that as I'm trying to manage multiple things, now I'm not worried. Now I know for sure that anytime that happens, at least the communication goes out. So that would be the second most impactful thing. If I had to pick a third, I would say that the calculation of maybe detention pay has been an interesting use case for us, especially because the customers that we have different detention policies. And so getting my team to memorize those detention policies is difficult in itself. It's hard for anybody to remember this shipper is $50 an hour after 2 hours, but this shipper is $35 an hour after 1 hour. There's so many different combinations of what detention pay looks like. Yes, we have SOPs, but I don't want my team to have to go open up a drawer or go into a Teams chat and siphon through all this information to find the one SOP that they need. Well, with the Foundry setup that we have on a customer by customer basis, I don't need to do that, right? The SOPs are already embedded into my TMS system, where my shippers are also embedded, where my routes are also embedded in my times. So setting Foundry up from that perspective, I don't have to worry about people doing math and making a mistake or forgetting that this customer said this and not that. Foundry consolidates all of that information and it just applies it. Now, all of a sudden, nobody has to do anything with that. It's all just system driven, Foundry driven. And at the end of the week, I just have to go review the report. Very simple, very easy, very hands off.
That it's fabulous. And thank you for sharing those use cases. If you were going to talk to another trucking company and they're asking you, is Foundry worth it? Maybe I just build on my own. Maybe I use a point solution. Like, there are several agentic platforms that are not inside the TMS, but could potentially be bolted on. What would be your advice or recommendation to them?
I would probably suggest or say, yes, Foundry is worth it from a data security perspective. You might be able to bolt on other AI platforms. I don't know that for sure, but maybe it's a possibility, right? The problem though is that, are you willing to give another external entity access to all of the information in your TMS system? You've got customer rates in there. You've got contacts in there that you might not want to just give out to the world. Whereas using Foundry, it's almost like if you bolt on an external platform to the TMS system, you don't really have a designed sandbox, right? If I have a sandbox, I want to just operate in the parameters of that sandbox. I don't want that data to get out. I don't want a lot of things feeding into it. I want whatever's in that sandbox to stay in that sandbox. Using an external platform, now all of a sudden you're allowing somebody else into your sandbox, and the risk of that information getting out is a lot greater. Foundry is everything that you could possibly want with your TMS system and AI in the sandbox. It's just playing with whatever's already in there. All your data, all your information, it's got confines and parameters to what you already have, and it's not going to go out. It's not going to bring anything in. Whatever's in there is in there, and you can maximize the efficiencies and optimize everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis without having to worry about your data getting out or false data coming in.
We'll wrap up with this question because you guys have been Alvys TMS customers for quite some time. We've been talking a lot about Alvys Foundry, which is our new agentic platform that you guys are using. I'm wondering though, when you zoom out, what are a couple other use cases with Alvys that you think are particularly helpful at Spartan Carrier?
I think that the most important use case for Alvys has nothing to do with the technology in itself. It has everything to do with the people that you're interacting with. We've used numerous TMS platforms in the past. In my previous roles at previous companies, we've used, whether they be homegrown TMS systems or whether they just be TMS systems that have been around for decades, right? You always run into the same problem. If I have an issue, who do I call? Who do I ask? And if I do know who to ask, how long is it going to take them to get back to me? Maybe I need a fix. Maybe it's something that is crucial and maybe it's not. No matter what, you need an answer. The difference or the competitive advantage that Alvys has from my perspective against any of the other systems, and I won't even limit it to TMS systems. I'll just use any technology system or software that we've used. Alvys is different in this one regard. Anytime I have a question, I get an answer quick. Anytime I have a problem, I have a solution. The relationships that we set forth and the partnership that we've developed is paramount to anything that I can think of from a technology standpoint. I have not had any software company or technology provider come into my organization and want to understand how I operate. Alvys did not do that from the beginning. From the first time that I ever talked to them, we did not move forward with anything on Alvys until they sent like 3 or 4 people down to our headquarters in Fort Worth. And they sat in a room with every single one of my departments and said, okay, I want to understand exactly what you need and exactly what you do. I need to understand your operation before I know how I can help your operation. That is key to our entire success with Alvys. And it's one of the main reasons why we don't entertain any other TMS companies that come and talk to us. We don't want to have those conversations because why would I jeopardize my relationship with Alvys when I know every single time I've had an issue, they've been there. Anytime I had a question, they've been there. Even if I have nothing to talk about, they're just still there. Like they just want to make sure that we're good. So for anybody looking for a TMS provider, I would highly recommend Alvys just from that one perspective. The system the benefits of using things like custom references in Foundry. That's great. I love the additions and the enhancements to the system. But at the end of the day, a system is a system. The people are the ones that are driving the solution. And as long as you have a good relationship with the people and they're willing to learn and willing to understand your perspective, that is invaluable.
And Alvys is not paying you to say any of those things.
No.
Wow. High praise. High praise. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And, Alvys is trying to set itself apart by being a modern platform and truly trying to build an infrastructure that is AI first, AI forward, that has native EDI, that has all the integrations you could need, but exactly what you pointed out, that is customizable, and that our founder, who is now a friend of yours too, Nick Darman, he was a trucking company owner for a long time. And Alvys really came out of his frustrations with the TMS providers that he was looking at. And that's something he knows intuitively, that different trucking companies operate differently. And you need to have the control in your hands to customize a solution, according to your business. So yeah, is there anything else that's on your mind that you would want to share before we close?
I'll just add one more thing.
Yeah.
For all of these small trucking companies or really for anybody that needs a TMS system, a lot of people, I think, have a certain reservation to AI. They might think that it's going to eliminate the need for people. They might be intimidated by what could be, right? They might just be scared because they don't know how to use it. I want to reiterate the fact that with working with Alvys, with working with Foundry, I do not have a technology background at all. I went to school for supply chain solutions. Tech is not my first language by any means. As you are navigating a TMS platform and you are wanting to enhance and optimize, do not be scared to use AI as long as you have a partner that has that AI within the confines or the parameters that are set. Benefit of Alvys and Foundry is that I don't have to be scared. I don't have to worry about using AI. I love my people, so I'm always going to protect my people. But at the end of the day, I want those people to grow. I want our organization to grow. So for anybody out there that might be scared of AI, this is a great starting point, right? It's safe. And you have a team of people that have helped me firsthand. So I can only imagine that they are willing to help anybody that comes their way firsthand. And when you see the benefit of what they have created and allowed you to do as an operation, I can almost guarantee you will never want to go back.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Kendrick. And I know, you understand the processes so intuitively. So we were really lucky to get to sit down and chat with you. And we are recording live in the studio at Spartan Carrier Group. So this is a special treat for me too, to get to record the podcast here in person with you. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.